Today I wanted to talk to you all about tea. I am really passionate about tea and I love drinking tea, but I don't often drink tea bags. I generally go for loose leaf tea. And what I found is that with tea bags there's definitely less of a variety of different things that you can get and flavors and different techniques and stuff than what there is with loose leaf tea. And I find that loose leaf tea is definitely more exciting and more fun and just as convenient as using regular tea bags. So I thought I would make a video today, just basically a tea 101 for people who have never really used loose leaf tea before or who are pretty much just kind of stuck in the tea bag world. Loose leaf tea is kind of like tea bags in that it is the same product. It is leaves from the Camellia sinensis plant. Now in tea bags, the actual tea leaves tend to be broken up into really small pieces, whereas with loose leaf tea, they are kept intact, and that's probably the biggest difference. The fact that they're kept intact means that they take a little bit longer to brew, usually 2 to 3 minutes, whereas with the tea bag you can get away with it of 30 to 60 second brew time. I have a whole lot of tea. I have black tea, I have green tea, I have rooibos red, I have fruit tisanes, and I have herbal teas, and I mix them up and have different things depending on what I'm in the mood for or what I feel like. So that's basically a bit of an intro about tea. So your tools of the trade are obviously a teapot. Now there are several different types of teapots and they work slightly differently, so I'll explain that first. Basically the traditional teapot is this one. And it is essentially just a compartment inside and then a spout. Sometimes they have around this base of the spout there'll be some kind of filter, but for this one it's just a hole. So basically it's just a ceramic bowl with a spout on it. Now with tea, when you're making tea with these, you basically put the loose leaves into the teapot, and the rule is generally 1 tablespoon for each, or teaspoon for each person, plus 1 for the pot. So if you're serving, this is big enough to do 4 cups or 5 cups, so if you were serving 4 people you would put 5 teaspoons or tablespoons in here, depending on what kind of strength you prefer. But you get used to, depending on your own teapot and how strong you like it and how long you're going to leave it to brew for. Obviously if you leave it to brew longer it will be stronger, and if you leave it to brew for less time then it will be weaker. So you put your tea leaves in the top and then you put hot water and put the lid on. When the tea is brewed and you go to pour it out, you'll find that a mix of tea leaves, like solid leaves, and the tea will come out of the spout. Generally what you need is some kind of a filter to filter the tea with as it's being poured, and I have one here. So generally you need something like this, and it is basically a filter, and when you're pouring your tea you pour it through the filter and that catches all the tea leaves. And generally with these filters there's also a little cup that they can sit in so that they don't get your tablecloth wet or whatever you're drinking tea on. So when you have a teapot like this, it's pretty essential that you need something like this. Also more modern kind of wacky designs like this one, where the tea goes inside this little compartment in here. I can get this open. So the tea goes inside there, and I will actually put some in. This is a black tea blend that I have called Mint Slice. It has chocolate pieces in it, and it has mint leaves in it as well as regular tea, and that's why they call it Mint Slice. So this is just for me, so I'm just going to add that much. And then I should probably boil my kettle, shouldn't I? That goes on like that and clicks into place. So then when you fill this with boiling water and you put this in, when you're ready to drink your tea and you think it's strong enough, you can just pull it out and bend the handle like so. And so then your tea is in here and it's not getting stronger and stronger and stronger with the tea leaves still inside the pot, which is really smart. I'm going to grab some hot water and fill this one up, and I'll show you how the tea brews. Now it is best to turn your kettle off right before it reaches boil, and that's so that the tea leaves don't get burnt. It's a bit of a wanky thing, but I think it makes a difference to the flavour, definitely. So I'm going to put this in here, like so. And obviously with this one you only fill it up to the line where that metal is, right there. And then this lid comes on. And that tea will start to brew straight away. Don't know whether you can see, but that has already coloured it a little bit. But I'll leave that in there to brew. Now, in terms of what's in my tea collection, I have a selection of black teas. I have this one, which is cafe latte flavour, and it actually has pieces of chocolate in it. I have one that's called French Earl Grey. I also have an Earl Grey tea that I make myself. So I use, basically all you do is Google ingredients Earl Grey tea, sorry, not Earl Grey tea, chai tea. You Google ingredients chai tea and it'll show you like what you need, cinnamon, cardamom, pods, all of those things. And you put them in with black tea and you have your own chai tea. But these are two of my favourites, and obviously the mint slice that I'm making at the moment. These ones are all from Adore Tea, which you can, if you live in Canberra, you can go to their shop or you can buy online. I really like them because they don't put, most of their blends are just like with things rather than with artificial flavours. I find that with the T2 teas, which is their main competitor, and I have one here. This is just a straight Yunnan, which is sort of like normal tea, but a Chinese version. It's a little bit fruity, but it's really nice. But I find that a lot of the T2, especially the black tea blends, tend to have like flavour added to them. So be careful when you're buying from there because you will end up with ones with flavour. Also, these ones come with sealable containers and these ones don't. I find it very frustrating with a lot of T2 stuff because you have to buy the massive 250 gram containers before they're self-sealing. And they'll always try and sell you like a sealable container. But what happens is if it's left open like this for a long time, then the tea does tend to dry out and the flavour is reduced. However, if you drink as much as I do, then that's not really a problem. I also drink a lot of rooibos, which is also called Red Bush. And this is one of the ones that I like. It's Red Earl Grey, so it just has, it's the rooibos Red Bush instead of Camellia sinensis black tea. And rooibos Red Bush doesn't have any caffeine in it, whereas Camellia sinensis, obviously tea, does have caffeine in it. So I'll show you what this one looks like. I've just put it in a Ziploc bag, which is a great way of getting around their packaging. And it's basically just like red leaves, and it brews exactly the same way as tea, but it's a different thing, and it tastes different as well. But this one is Earl Grey, and I love Earl Grey teas. And Earl Grey is basically just black tea with bergamot added to it. So even if you have your access to bergamot and you wanted to add it to regular black tea, then you would have Earl Grey tea. So this is bergamot added to rooibos Red Bush. I also have a lot of green teas. I have old Japanese green tea varieties. Everybody knows that I'm obsessed, so every time people go overseas, they bring me back tea. But you can see that that's a loose leaf quality tea, but it's just been put in a silk triangular bag. So obviously with these ones you just pop that straight inside a mug of hot water and it'll do its thing. But green tea is called green tea because the leaves of the Camellia sinensis plant are not dried out completely. So with your regular black tea, the Camellia sinensis is put out on its dehydrator or drying rack or whatever it is and dried completely and made completely caffeinated. With this, that process is only partially done, so it's still a little bit, there's still a little bit of moisture left in the leaves when they give it to you. It's partially fermented instead of fully. And that's the difference between green and black tea. There are more antioxidants in green tea than black tea. There's also white tea, which is basically just fresh leaves, but I don't have any to show you, so. I also have oolong tea, which is another great one for antioxidants. It also has, it's sort of similar to green tea. It has some caffeine, but not as much as regular black tea. And then I also have fruit tisanes, and I have a couple of those. I have this one, which is a T2 one, and it is called Southern Sunrise, and it's got a lot of like, I think hibiscus, and it's got fruit in it, and it's got lemongrass in it. It's really, really nice cold. And I also have vanilla slice, which has apple pieces, rosehip, hibiscus, vanilla pieces in it. So with this vanilla slice one and with this one, they're fruit tisanes instead of tea. So there's no actual Camellia sinensis green tea or black tea in them at all. It's just pieces of fruit, and I can show you, how well you can see that. But it's just like dried pieces of fruit and vanilla pods and flowers and that sort of thing. And what I do with these is I have my own special teapot, and I just pour some of this in. And I do this pretty much every evening because I'll drink a whole bottle of this during the day. And I'll add just tap water. I started adding boiling water to it, but then I realized you really don't need to. And this has already started to colour because this stuff is amazing. I don't know if you can see that. So basically this is just sort of like a fruit tisane. It's really fruity and really fresh. And I will put this in the refrigerator and I will drink out of it all day long, and it's really, really nice. Really, it goes a really deep pink, this particular flavour. So that's fruit tisanes. I really recommend fruit tisanes. They're really great to have in the fridge and they will stop you from craving juice and really sugary stuff. It's a really nice alternative and very fresh, and you can put fresh pieces of fruit in it and ice and have it on a hot sunny afternoon, and it's fantastic. Really, really beautiful. I also have herbal teas, and that's sort of the last thing I want to talk today about. I have peppermint tea, which is really great for digestion if you get an upset stomach or whatever, IBS, anything like that. Peppermint tea is really nice. I really like the flavour of peppermint tea. I just like, and I shouldn't be saying peppermint tea, it's a peppermint herbal blend. It's just peppermint leaves. You can basically see that there's no Camellia sinensis. There's no black tea in that at all. And this is from Mrs. Oldbucks in the Southern Highlands. Yum, yum. And then I also have this one over here, which is sage tea. Sage tea is really good for anxiety and stress, and it's a good hormone balancer as well. Basically with herbal teas, there is one for every ailment that you can imagine. But the three that I use the most often are those two, and then this one, which is passion flower tea, and this is great for stress and anxiety as well. So basically you brew them exactly the same way that you do regular tea. You just put them into your teapot or into some kind of vessel or container, and that's it. And it brews. And with a lot of herbal remedies and herbal teas, you need to leave it to brew for a little bit longer because it's not designed to kind of bleed out as quickly as black tea would be. I have another clever little tool over here as well, and I like to call them Pac-Man. They're not called Pac-Man, but you can see why. And with a Pac-Man, all that you need to do is put the tea leaves in here and then put that straight into your cup or mug like so. And it'll brew by itself in the mug exactly the same way as it's basically a portable tea bag, a cleanable, washable, reusable tea bag, and so you won't have any rubbish. So it's really great for people who are trying not to waste too much, I think, if you can see that. So coconut cream is really great for putting in tea. I find that in terms of paleo and primal creamers, coconut cream is the best, followed by coconut milk, followed by almond milk. I find that with almond milk and with a lot of nut milks, you end up with kind of a grainy consistency, and it doesn't mix thoroughly in with the tea like regular milk would do. You just add, you know, a teaspoonful to your cup, and add it to your cup before you've added the tea to it. Now the reason that you need to do this, and this goes for regular milk as well, is that the milk, the fatty whatever it is inside the milk will be scalded by the hot tea if you don't put your creamer in first. If you put your creamer in first and then pour your tea in and mix it in slowly, you'll find that it kind of melts into it and dissolves into it, and then you can up the temperature by adding more and adding more and adding more and adding more. And that's the best way of doing it. If you have poured your tea into your teacup and then you pour your milk in, or you dollop your coconut cream in afterwards, then you'll find that that burnt kind of bitter flavour comes through a little bit, and it's not as nice. So yeah, definitely put your creamer in first if you have the option to do so. Now my tea, I think, is pretty much brewed, so I'm just going to pour, like I said, a little bit in and then dissolve the cream into that. And so that will up the temperature of the cream gradually rather than scalding it. And the thing about coconut cream is that it is solid at room temperature, as you can see, but once you put it in nice and hot with your tea, it will actually melt. And so you have little bits, but they melt. I mean, they've already melted in my one right here. I don't know if you can see that, but they've already melted, and this looks like really milky tea. I don't want to tilt that too much. So I'm going to fill this one up. And that's basically all that there is to know about tea that I know of. I mean, obviously there's hundreds of different types and different varieties that you might want to try out, but in terms of how it works and what you need, that's essentially it. Cheers.